What is going on, everyone? It's a video doing a review of the Sony Xperia Z2, which is perhaps one of the most hyped up devices of 2014 so far, but some elements are a little disappointing, and I'll explain why. Now, starting with the body, we have a bit of a mixed bag here. You see the dimensions is 146.8 by 73.3 by 8.2 millimeters. And you know what, it's weighing 163 grams, which isn't bad for its size, but considering the screen is 5.2 inches, the bezels at the top and the bottom of the device make the physical body too large. It's kind of lost between being a regular smartphone and a phablet, like the Note 3. And while it's not as attractive as other Sony devices, I have to say it looks a lot better than some of the other competing phones available on the market. And it's not awful to hold, but it's not exactly the most comfortable. That's mainly because all the edges are straight. There's not much curvature, so it doesn't feel too natural in the hand when holding it. The Z2 is IP58 certified, which means it's dust and water resistant, and it's water resistant up to 1 meter for 30 minutes. Now at the bottom we have the primary microphone and a wrist strap hole. And on the left you have the charging dock connector, and just above it you have a flap, which is really annoying to open and close, and it gives you access to the micro USB port for charging and connecting to your computer, and oddly enough the micro SIM card slot just below it. I do wish you had the option to remove this flap permanently though. On the top we have a 3.5mm jack for headphones and auxiliary connection to a stereo system, and the secondary microphone. Over on the right we have the micro SD card slot, the power button, volume rocker button, and the dedicated camera button. And the button placement is well done because it allows for easy one-handed access. On the rear we have the camera flash coupled with the 20.7 megapixel camera, which is enclosed with a Sony G lens, but it's a little bit disappointing. Now when it comes to still image quality, the camera performs great whether in good lighting conditions and low lighting conditions, and the last picture I'm going to show you was pitch black, and the light was all accumulated from the camera flash itself, as you can see, and there's not that much noise, so in still image performance it performs great. Now despite having a 20.7 megapixel camera at the rear, you can actually take quality pictures like that in Superior Auto or Creative Effect. If you use Superior Auto or Creative Effect mode, you're only going to be capping at 8 megapixels. The only way you can achieve camera images at 20.7 megapixels is going through manual mode. There's also some cool gimmicky features available like AR mode, which allows you to take pictures or videos in virtual reality settings, and you have a few to choose from. The DSLR background defocus mode performs a lot better than some of the competing smartphones on the market right now and allows for a lot of customization. However, these images take almost 2 to 3 minutes to process. Time shift mode basically captures videos at 720p at 120 frames per second and is basically a slow motion mode which allows for a lot of control. Notice the water droplets coming from the tap as they slow down. It looks pretty clear and it works quite well. And what you're seeing and hearing is being entirely captured with the Xperia Z2 camera. This particular clip is being recorded at 1080p at 60 frames per second, and of course if you want to see more camera samples and video samples in 4K actually, you can find that video, or links to that video, in the video description. And here's just an outdoor low lighting clip. The phone is having a lot of difficulty focusing. As you'll see, it just kind of keeps pulsing in and out of focus. It just seems to be having a lot of trouble keeping out. Let me turn to where there's more light, and it seems to be doing even worse. Although I have to say, when it is in focus in this condition, the lighting looks pretty good. There is a major problem when it comes to 4K video recording. You see, at about 3 to 3.5 minutes, the camera gets so hot that the phone force closes it, and you can't use the camera for about another 2-3 minutes because you have to let the phone cool down. So naturally I thought I had a defective unit with the 4K overheating problem, so I contacted Sony. They said they would get back to me, but they didn't. I then did a Google search, and it turns out there's an astonishing amount of people who have the exact same problem as I do worldwide. So that tells me one of two things. Either Sony is sending huge portions of shipments of this device and not testing random units from each bulk, or all Xperia Z2s have this problem, which most likely is the case. I believe all of them have this problem. Now Sony Singapore has issued a statement to its Singapore Technology News website basically saying, use the 4K video recording option for 2 minutes at a time, stop recording, let it cool down, and then record for 2 minutes again. To me that's not a great solution. Personally I suggest you do not use 4K recording at all, use 1080p. Now 1080p recording on this device is okay, the colors aren't the best, but it's pretty good. The reason I say this is because I was able to record 1080p for 50 minutes continuous, so 1080p works great. The problem is, if you record 4K and all of a sudden the camera overheats and you need to take a picture of something amazing happening, you can't. The camera will need 2 to 3 minutes to cool back down. I mean, technically it is water resistant, so you could keep pouring ice cold water while recording a 4K video, but that would eventually destroy the inside parts. The 3200 mAh battery in this device performs amazing. Now, from 100% down to 14%, it took me 3 days, 6 hours, and 43 minutes to lower the battery that much. And of course, I had a screen on time of 2 hours and 46 minutes, and a call talk time of 3 hours and 53 minutes, which is pretty astonishing. But also keep in mind that when it comes to screen usage, I was also using the speakers because I was watching videos, which draws even more power. And as if the battery wasn't good enough, you also have some battery saving modes just to make the battery even that much more amazing. Now on the front of the device we have a 2.2 megapixel camera which can record at 1080p at 30 frames per second. And this is the quick sample with the front facing camera. It's starting to rain even though the phone is water resistant. I gotta finish this up quickly. The front facing camera is okay, it records at 1080p at 30 frames per second. And I noticed that if there's even a slight amount of light lost in the image, you'll get a lot of noise in the image. So the front-facing camera isn't nothing terrible because it's pretty sharp, but it's nothing great because you get a lot of noise if there's even a little bit of light lost. On the front you have a gorgeous 5.2-inch IPS LCD screen with a resolution of 1080 by 1920, which basically means it's a 1080p display with an approximate PPI of 424. And it's also powered by exclusive Sony technology such as Triluminous Display and X-Reality Engine, and those two pieces of technology can also be found in Sony TVs. So not only is the screen on the Z2 amazingly sharp, but it also has some great colors that pop. It's actually one of my favorite displays on a smartphone currently on the market. The LED notification light on the front is okay. See, it's fairly large and sometimes it displays great colors for certain notifications, but at other times, as you can see now, it's very faint and hard to see. It might come as a surprise to many that the Xperia Z2 actually comes with dual front-facing speakers, which perform great when watching a video or playing video games, but they're not as loud as you would expect them to be, but they still perform better than the average smartphone. Okay, so in this segment of the video, I'm going to do my usual speaker volume test. The speakers are max volume. I'm just playing a YouTube clip from my channel. It's the Galaxy S5 comparison to the HTC M8, so let's play it and see how loud it can go. USB port supports USB 2.0 and USB 3.0. The rear camera of the Galaxy S5 is an amazing 16 megapixel camera which can record in 4K video. So let me hear what I can say and repeat it. Now on the back of the HTC M8 is what I just said. So dual front-facing speakers are louder than your average smartphone, but not as loud as I was hoping them to be. Now when it comes to sound and software, there are a lot of options available for the user to customize how the sound performs on the Xperia Z2. Now it doesn't actually make it too much louder than it already is, it just makes it a little bit sharper if you can tweak the settings just right. But the settings really shine when it comes to plugging in headphones. If you have good quality headphones, you can customize the sound well, they'll sound fantastic. But there's a problem with the dual front facing speakers. You see, both speakers work when watching a video or playing a video game, but when it comes to a ringtone or notification sound playing from an incoming message or phone call, only the bottom speaker works. This is actually a software problem and it could be fixed, but it's just a matter of Sony wanting to release an update to fix it. Packed inside is an astonishing 3 gigs of RAM. And in terms of processor, you have a Qualcomm Snapdragon 801 quad-core 2.3 GHz Crate 400 processor with an Adreno 330 GPU. And the processor performs pretty well. It's one of the fastest and most responsive smartphones on the market currently available. And this goes across to playing video games. The GPU and the processor perform great. The screen looks fantastic coupled with the front-facing speakers. Video game playing is not a problem at all. This thing can handle most tasks easily. In terms of connectivity, you have the usual like Bluetooth, GPS, Wi-Fi, which supports 802.11, A, B, G, N, and AC, DLNA, and of course screen mirroring to a TV. The weird thing here is that there's no IR blaster built inside this device, whereas last year's Xperia ZL did have one, so that means you can't use the Z2 as a remote control for your TV or various devices. 16GB is the only internal storage option available, but when it comes to external storage with a microSD card slot, you can get a maximum of 128 gigs. Out of the box, you're getting Android 4.4.2 KitKat, and of course it's been covered with Sony's custom Android skin overlay. This means you're getting some special features available in the device. Of course, you have some options like Xperia themes, which basically allows you to change some themes and minor adjustments to the color of the system settings. But more importantly, the system interface is very easy to use. The phone in general is very clean, easy to use, and very responsive. You also have the ability to connect a PlayStation DualShock 3 controller to the Z2. Other special connectivity options include the ability to connect to other Xperia devices, mirroring your display onto a TV through an MHL wire or wirelessly. There are special gesture control commands such as answering your phone by bringing the device to your ear. To reject a call, you shake the device, and of course to turn the ringer off, you just simply flip your phone over. There's the ability to increase the screen sensitivity, so if you want to use the phone while wearing a glove, it works. Of course, I noticed that the thicker the glove, the harder it is to get the phone to respond, but for the most part, I'm actually very impressed at how well it works. You have the ability to turn the screen on with a double tap, and of course the album app has some photo and video editing functions, but nothing special. There's not too many options available here. You still might want to get a third-party app from the Google Play Store for a lot of photo and video editing functions. Something really annoying in the software is that whenever you disable mobile data, for some strange reason the phone will give you a notification telling you that mobile data has been turned off, and it's extremely annoying because it happens every time. And when it comes to general phone call quality, the Z2 performs okay. It's nothing special, but nothing terrible, it's just okay. Now before I give my score, I just want to make something very clear. That I don't want people cursing and swearing in the comment section or disliking this video without hearing what I have to say first. You see, I have nothing against Sony. In fact, I've reviewed a lot of Sony devices in the past. In fact, I reviewed the Sony Xperia ZL smartphone from last year and gave it a great score because it was a great device at the time. In fact, I said it was better than the Galaxy S4. Now, a lot of people have been wondering, well, how is it that I list all these problems with the Z2 but other reviewers don't? But I actually noticed that a lot of reviewers out there, like including one YouTube organization which has over like 600,000 subscribers, they use the battery down from 100% to about 70% in an hour and a half, and then they base the entire rest of the battery stats based on that hour and a half. That's how bad the standard has become, because everyone wants to get their review on the internet first, or actually take my time reviewing a device. I've been using this for about 2.5 to 3 weeks now, and I use it on the assumption that I'm a consumer. Would I want to buy this device for $700 outright, or would I want to stick with this phone for the next 2 years on a 2-year contract? That's how I base my reviews, from the consumer's point of view. So I want to make sure you guys make the right purchasing decision. Anyway, moving on with the score, it's not as low as you would think. I'm giving it a 7 out of a 10, but that would still make a lot of people angry because it isn't as high as some of the competition phones I gave. Now you can read the pros of the device here on the side if you want. Go ahead, you can pause the video and read them up. But me discussing the cons. Now the first is that the notification you get when you disable mobile data like LTE is rather frustrating. I know when I turned off LTE, I did it, I don't need a notification telling me that. That can be fixed with the software update, but it's really annoying. Not only that, when you're using the phone for its speakers, for watching videos, both work. Or playing video games, both work. But when you're receiving a phone call or a text message, only one speaker is working, the bottom speaker. The top one doesn't work at all. Now this can be fixed with software. It's been proven by an XDA developer, but they had to modify the software, and that means you're voiding the warranty. Sony has to fix this quickly, but out of the box it's not fixed, so that's another problem, which means Sony didn't really test it properly. Then of course the device is huge, it's massive. Now in terms of width, it's not that bad, so if you have small hands it's okay to use. Not only that, the physical buttons are easy to get a hold of because they're so low, which is fantastic. I just find it odd that the bezels at the top and bottom are massive. Not only that, the Xperia ZL from last year had an IR blaster in it, which means you can use the smartphone as a remote control. Considering how huge this is compared to the ZL, this does not have an IR blaster built inside. So Sony actually took a step backwards with that. Lastly is the 4K video recording. It's advertised as using 4K video recording, which is true, so technically it's not false advertising, but it makes you wonder where's the boundary of ethics in advertising. It records for 3.5 minutes at tops and then turns off, and then it has to cool down. Furthermore, on the Sony store website, Sony actually advertises being the best camera on a smartphone in the world. I certainly do not agree with that. I don't know if you guys do. Still pictures and 1080p recording is pretty good, but 4K is a big flop. So whether you guys agree with that statement or if you agree with my review or not, be sure to discuss it in the comment section, but keep it civil. Now if you want to see comparison to the Galaxy S5 or comparison to the HTC M8, some camera sample videos, gaming demo video, whatever, all those video links are in the video description. Also, if you do find this video useful, be sure to check out my Facebook, Google+, Twitter links also in the video description. Hit the like button, it does help, subscribe, and thanks for watching.